We will continue the chapter 4, sorting materials into groups. इसके पहले आपने प्रॉपर्टीज ऑफ मटेरियल्स पढ़ी थी. प्रॉपर्टीज ऑफ मटेरियल्स, पहली प्रॉपर्टी आपने पढ़ी थी हार्डनेस, सॉफ्ट एंड हार्डनेस. इसके बाद आपको नेक्स्ट प्रॉपर्टी पढ़नी है solubility and insolubility. The solubility means the property that is soluble, the substances are soluble or insoluble. Solubility means if the substance can be dissolved in water, it means they are called as the soluble substances. So when we dissolve in water, if they are completely dissolved or they are completely disappeared, so such type of substances are called as the soluble substances. And the substances which do not dissolve in water, so they will not disappear, so they are called as the insoluble substances on the basis of the solubility in water. So they can be differentiated. That one is the next property of the material, soluble and insoluble. So we can also do activity based on this solubility and insolubility. We can take different samples such as lemon juice, mustard oil, coconut oil, kerosene, and take these sample in a glass tumbler and fill it with half of water and add liquid into this and stir, and you will put it for 5 minutes. So what will we observe? That some of the liquids will completely dissolve while the other liquids do not dissolve in water. So on the observation you can find out that these liquids are dissolved in water or they are not dissolved in water. So the liquids which are soluble in water, it means they are soluble liquids, and which will not be dissolved in water, it means they were insoluble in liquid. Suppose vinegar. When you mix vinegar in a glass tumbler with water, you will see that that will be completely mixed. It means that is soluble in water. While on the other hand, when you put coconut oil or mustard oil in water, you will see that it will not dissolve. It will not completely dissolve. So it is showing that is insoluble in water. So on the basis of the solubility, they can easily be distinguished. You can see in this figure, in the figure A, liquids mix with water, while in the figure B, the liquids do not mix with water. So it forms the different layers. Suppose it is oil and it is water. So when we put the oil in the water, you can see easily that there are two different layers will be formed. It is showing that oil is not dissolved in water. So that is the activity based on the solubility and insolubility of the substances into the water. And some gases are also soluble in water and some gases are not soluble in water. For example, oxygen gas, it dissolves in water and it is very important for the animals and plants that live in water. So that one, the next property of the materials, that is soluble and insoluble. The next property of the material, that is objects float or sink in the water. So the insoluble solids separated out from the water. So you notice that the some liquids and some of these materials that do not mix water floated to the surface of the water, and other they sunk to the bottom. So we notice that many examples of the objects that float in the water, such as you can take the dried leaves. You see that these dried leaves, they float into the surface of the water. And if we put a stone, you throw a piece of a stone into the water, you see that that will be the sink. So you can observe that the light weighted substances, they float, while the heavy substances, they sunk into the bottom. So that is the basis of the classification. The objects that flow in the water, which are lighter in weight, but the objects which are heavier, they sink into the water. Is it clear? You can see that in this figure, the objects which are lighter, they float, and the objects which are heavier, such as you have taken the key that is made up of the iron, so it is heavier than the water, so it sinks into it. The next property of the material, that is the transparency. We have already studied about the transparent, translucent, uh, on the basis of their property. The materials through which objects can be seen but not clearly are called as translucent. Suppose the oily patch on the paper. When we tested food items for the presence of fat, that becomes translucent. And the transparent substances are those by which we can see easily. So the substances which by which we can easily see, they are called as the transparent substances. So those substances or those materials through which things can be seen are called the transparent, such as glass, air. They are examples of the transparent materials. You can see that these are the transparent bottles which are used in the by the shopkeepers, so they can easily see the objects which are present in these containers. They are transparent substances. But opaque substances are those materials by which we cannot see easily. The materials through which you are not able to see are called as the opaque. For example, wood and cardboard, metals, these are examples of the opaque materials. So you can also do this activity. Take a sheet of paper and look through it towards a lighted bulb. And when you put 2 or 3 drops of the oil and spread into the sheet, look again towards the light bulb. That the portion of the paper in which we have added the oil, it will become, oil has been spread. So you will find that the bulb is more clearly visible than before.